sort of, it's a given that the earnings are not going to be good, just based on the fact that this company had really, really crummy first quarter deliveries.
1 million robotaxis out on the road. I mean, he's made a number of these statements. He's even said he's the boy who cries FSD. It's got to be more than that. It has to be details.
Last week was a bloodbath, and I know that we saw selling in the overall market, but for context, they were the third worst performer in the S&P 500. So,
right, EVs are inevitable. These price cuts are going to make EVs highly compelling.
The car business for me is only less than 10% of the business.
Long-term story is electric vehicles are here to stay. Tesla's prices are so competitive, it's going to be very hard for any other company to catch up to them at this point, particularly in the US market.
All that and more. So let's get to it. Tesla stock is up in the pre-market a little over 0.5%, sitting at 142.90. That doesn't sound right. Isn't earnings today? I have 3 options contracts of varying conflicts of interest, but all of them expiring at different times. The first to expire would be the 150 put at the end of the week. For the value of this contract to rise, the stock definitely needs to fall. At the end of May, I'm selling a 150 call. So if the stock price continues to fall, I don't have to give up 100 shares at $150 per share. In all honesty, I don't want to do that, so yeah, I'd like to see the stock fall for the next 5 to 6 weeks. This one's quite the bit of a gamble, especially if there's some surprise financials to be released here on earnings. But I feel fairly confident that I'm not going to have to sell any of these shares either. And then I have an options contract that expires at the end of 2025. This had made me quite a bit of money at Tesla's peak during last year's run. But by the time this contract nears expiration, I fully intend to purchase 100 shares of Tesla at $155 per share. All things considered, buying a long call that expires in December in 2026 with the strike price of $140 or $145 for approximately $5,500 sounds like a bargain to me.
I think the fact that we're seeing such kind of, rash moves by Musk, I think it really speaks to this idea that, oh no, things are not going well here. And we've seen in the past that when his back is up against the wall, things get really sort of hectic really fast. I think back to 2018 when he decided on a whim to tweet that, he had the funding secured to go private. We're maybe not quite to that level yet, but we are sort of approaching that level of chaos just with the amount of change happening. Some of it which is really unsettling folks within Tesla. There's really concern about this idea that he's going so far as to put aside plans for a $25,000 car and sort of, put it all on ROBOTAXIs, which he's been talking about for years, but which, Tesla really hasn't made a whole lot of progress with standing up the infrastructure it needs to do that.
Can't put the cart before the horse. In fact, that infrastructure will be easy to set up once you complete the hard part, and that is solving for general autonomy. Oddly enough, they've made significant progress in that area right there.
Is that a bet the company type move? And how do I see that, if that's the case, kind of versus the earnings that we're about to get?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think it is in the sense that, if you think about what a company like Waymo or Cruise has done, this is not a cheap endeavor. This is not something that you can sort of, just sort of make little bets here and there. You have to hire a whole lot of people. You have to set up infrastructure to, let's say your car, gets into a position where you need it to move out of the way for some sort of emergency. I don't know that Tesla. I don't know that Tesla has, remote operators or a system to set up, to handle that.
Well, the major difference between a Waymo, Cruise, or Tesla vehicle is that I believe the Tesla vehicle will be smart enough to recognize these situations. There is so much information we do not know about what's going to happen in this robotaxi situation. We're going to have to wait until August 8th. Pray that some individuals ask some meaningful questions about the functionality of this service. Right now, this is just speculation. The one thing I do know for certain is that these vehicles from Tesla will be much, much smarter than anything Cruise or Waymo could put out. The autonomous driving platforms that are out right now serve a purpose and they are fairly useful, but they are party tricks. Tesla's vision-only system, powered by neural nets, is going to be something that we've never seen before on the roads. And Tesla is barreling ahead, focused on making this a reality.
So you got that, and then you got the earnings coming up. Can I ignore the earnings, therefore? What are the if we're into this kind of stuff? What are the earnings going to really tell me about what's going on in this company?
I think at this point, you almost sort of, it's a given that the earnings are not going to be good, just based on the fact that this company had really, really crummy first quarter deliveries. Nobody was expecting them to be this bad. I think the real concern for investors is, okay, so what's the plan? Are you really going to put this $25,000 car off? Are you really making this, all in on ROBOTAXI bet? I think, Musk has not been he's been his own worst enemy in terms of not being clear on that and sort of giving people every indication that indeed he's willing to put this $25,000 car aside and really put it all on autonomy.
Phil, down 7 in a row would be the longest losing streak since December of 22.
And I'm not sure, Carl, that we're going to see it end tomorrow after the company reports its Q1 results. I know we've said in the past the numbers are not as important as the conference call, but that really is the case. We know tomorrow that the numbers for Q1, we're going to see a big drop in automotive gross margins. Operating profit is going to be taking a huge hit. First time in 4 years that we'll probably see a year-over-year decline in revenue. All of that said, it's what Elon Musk says during the analyst call with regard to two subjects that's going to get the most attention. First of all, the small car, call it the Model 2, whatever you want to call it, is that completely on the back burner, or is this a case where he's going to say, look, we expect to have that 25, 26, 27, that's still the case, which would be bullish for those who believe in the near term that Tesla can rebound from this.
And that will be the case. Remember, the Mexico factory will be solely designed for the next generation platform, which is going to house what's unveiled on August 8th. Along with this way of creating cheaper vehicles, there will be multiple cars coming off of this platform. It only stands to reason that these cheaper vehicles will be sold to consumers as well.
And then what happens with ROBOTAXI? Yes, they are going to be unveiling it on August 8th, but does he give us any more details in terms of will it be geofenced in a small area when they roll it out?
Highly doubtful.
When will they roll it out?
Now, that is a good question. My guess is sometime within the next 18 months from August 8th.
To what regard, how great will it be when they first roll it out? Is it going to be a small sample size, which many believe it will be in a geofenced area? Or does he think he can roll this on a wide scale, let's say in 27, 28? When is it going to be? It can't just be what it's been in the past quarters from Elon Musk, which is full self-driving is great. Everybody loves it. The future is here. 1 million robotaxis out on the road. I mean, he's made a number of these statements. He's even said he's the boy who cries FSD. It's got to be more than that. It has to be details.
I agree. The stock would suffer less if they were a little more clear on what their path would be, but that's not their job. Their job is to create something that's never been done before on the path to a sustainable energy economy. Forgive them if they're not handing you the rubric that changes every day when it comes to the emergence of technology. And even if they did spoon feed you the information, skepticism would be so thick you could cut that with a knife. The best thing Tesla can do is show you rather than just tell you, because nobody's going to believe what they say anyway.
Let's come back to Tesla for a second. One of those big laggards in the big tech world. More price cuts, Jenny Horn. This is mostly China?
This is mostly China, but it's also here in the U.S., so I guess it depends on what matters more to you.
What matters more is getting people, no matter what region they're in, inside the vehicles. If Tesla can do that without negative gross margin, I think we're golden.
because they did reduce their prices by around $1,900 for their Model 3, Y, and S and X vehicles, according to their website in China specifically, after cutting the U.S. prices of the Model Y, S, and X by around $2,000. So the Model 3's price cut was spared here in the U.S., but outside of that, it was pretty much actually exactly the same as what we saw cut in China. But Tesla shares are down another 3% this morning after falling 13% last week. I mean, last week was a bloodbath, and I know that we saw selling in the overall market, but for context, they were the third worst performer in the S&P 500. So it wasn't like every stock did as bad as Tesla, and that's where it seems like the encouraging story is just becoming more and more difficult to grab a hold of, because we do have earnings tomorrow, sure, and I think relatively low bar set, like you and Kevin both said, but you've got a company laying off its workforce, a lot of major heads of the company leaving as part of this 10% workforce reduction. And of course, in last week, we had Cybertruck recalls, and these are true recalls. These aren't just like software patches.
Yeah, this is the accelerator.
It's the accelerator pad, and it's going without you putting your foot on it.
Stuck.
That's not what's happening, but okay. Prime example of how not reading beyond the headline can make you sound foolish by regurgitating it later.
It's not working right now.
It's
140.
not.
I mean, it's really dropped off. And to Kevin's point, you would think maybe the bar is getting lowered in terms of like the news that it's going to be required to sink the stock, but it's not. It's like every headline right now keeps hitting the company, from the cuts to the price cuts.
I wonder why. No one likes a disruptor. I suppose the squeaky wheel does indeed get the grease.
I want to get your reaction to these price cuts. The price cuts in the U.S., also in China, they include the Model Y, the most popular EV in the United States.
In the world, Craig. The world.
Oh man, you know, these are painful, right? It's going to be painful for Tesla to endure these. We're going to see more rounds of price cuts after this.
Craig speaks like we're Rivian or Lucid with negative gross auto margins. Endure these price cuts? Are you kidding me? Tesla is making money hand over fist, and that will only continue because they have industry-leading margins, with hidden margins baked inside every vehicle they sell.
They're going to do everything they can to reinvigorate the sales velocity, right? When you're declining, 8.5% year over year, that's not good in a growth market. So this is a very important year for the creation of the EV market, right? EVs are inevitable. These price cuts are going to make EVs highly compelling to the consumer, but we've got to get past this, right? It's going to be a tough year for Tesla. We've been saying that for a while. It's definitely not getting any better right now.
It's not getting any better right now. That kind of speaks to your price target of $85. That's a 40% decline from where Tesla shares are trading right now.
Damn! I hope Craig is right. I'm sorry if anybody's turned upside down, but I get absolutely giddy with the prospect of purchasing TSLA at $85 per share.
But this is a company that a lot of people, I know you're not one of them, but a lot of people say is an AI play, and really the money's going to be made in the ROBOTAXI and other things down the line.
So the bulls on the stock, they look at, the AI and they look at robotics, right? So the whole thing of the ROBOTAXI, right? We're not going to get a ROBOTAXI on 8.8. We're going to get a cyber taxi. It's going to be Cybertruck Lite. It may have FSD in it.
Cyber taxi. What the f is semantics? What the f does that have to do with anything?
But this is not going to be level 4, level 4.5 ADAS, right? It's not going to be able to take you to the grocery store or bring you to grandma's while you play video games in the back seat, right?
I'd wager that you could probably do that if there weren't so many nags in the vehicle already. Question is, where does the liability lie if Tesla were to do that? Me personally, I feel like I could be in the back seat in most situations. Not all, but most.
Tom, you got a pretty healthy price target, I believe, of $294 on this stock, which is closer to 140, maybe 142 a share. How do we get from here to there?
My valuation, my price target is really based on autonomy, or 50, 60, maybe 70% of it comes from robotaxis, has been for a year now. I also am a big believer in FSD and then energy storage. The car business for me is only less than 10% of the business. That said, I am concerned about what could happen tomorrow if it is indeed true that this Model 2 vehicle is either being delayed or shelved to some extent. I do think that will have ramifications near term.
Is it just me, or do people not listen to what Tesla has to say? They have a process that's going to reduce the cost to produce these vehicles by 50%. That's an entirely new platform of vehicle. Reducing the cost by 50% just screams healthy gross margin. It stands to reason that it would be in the company's best interest to spin off multiple vehicles off of this platform. To put it into context, right? The Model 3 ramping up. Why didn't they make the Model Y at the same damn time? I mean, it is the best-selling vehicle on the planet. Why not do both at the same time? The Model 3 and Y are on the same platform. Same will be true with this new way of building vehicles. ROBOTAXI just happens to be first.
But even if you don't own Tesla, you don't drive a Tesla, you don't care about Elon Musk, maybe you should care about Tesla stock. It could be very important for the market. Here's why we say that. Tesla has 3.18 billion shares outstanding. It's in over 350 ETFs. It's got huge options activity, and it's also used in all kinds of derivative trades on Wall Street, things you've probably never heard about, like Delta One strategies, etc. The bottom line is Tesla is a very important stock. And let's be fair, because again, that's what we do here on Last Call. Tesla, even with the recent woes, has still made a lot of investors a lot of money. The stock was only $15 a couple of years ago. So if you bought it then, even with the downslide, you've done very well.
Buying it at $15 per share. We can't live in the past, however. At this very moment, we have an extraordinary opportunity as the stock market fails to realize this very well could be the most valuable stock in a decade's time.
Joining us now with more is Tesla investor and ARK Invest Director of Investment Analysis, Tasha Keeney. Tasha, thanks for coming on again. There's two ways to look at Tesla. A, it's been a massive moneymaker for millions of investors over the last decade. Or two, in the last couple months, it's not been. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think, at ARK Invest, we're long-term investors and we care about disruptive innovation. So, as you said, Tesla is important to the equity market. I'd say it's important to the world at large. I mean, it's single-handedly pushed forward the electric vehicle industry. I think it's going to do the same for autonomous driving. So that's what we're focused on, that long-term story. And I think that given the recent price action, it really suggests that investors are ignoring what I believe will be a massive opportunity in the ROBOTAXI network.
What's wrong with Tesla stock? You guys do great work, great analysis there. You got a $2,000 price target on the stock. It's a lot higher than it is now. What's wrong with the stock, Tasha?
Well, I think investors are concerned about demand for electric vehicles, demand for Tesla specifically. They're looking at this year's numbers versus last year, at the current growth rate of deliveries. Of course, deliveries did disappoint relative to expectations this past quarter. But I think what they should be focused on is let's zoom out and look at electric vehicles as a whole. They are now price competitive with gas-powered cars in many ways, thanks to Tesla. And so Tesla is a leader in that industry, and that story is not going to change.
You're damn right.
So when I think of the auto industry as a whole, Tesla's not immune to interest rates. I don't expect them to be. We heard that they're in between growth curves on the last earnings call. I wouldn't be surprised about some short-term upsets, but I think the long-term story is electric vehicles are here to stay. Tesla's prices are so competitive, it's going to be very hard for any other company to catch up to them at this point, particularly in the US market. And on software and autonomy, I think they have a data advantage that is unparalleled.
Ding, 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 ding. Tell her what she's won, Johnny. Your mother. Right. Tesla is swimming in a sea of proprietary data, all of which will further the progress on the completion of FSD, which no one is coming close to a generalized solution, lest we forget that all of that runoff will then be fueling the engine, which is Optimus.
Yeah, and I've said people don't want electric cars, they want Teslas. I've driven all of them, it's a totally different thing. Does the Cybertruck matter to Tesla? It's a niche vehicle, got a lot of hype, right? They had a recall, right? There's some pedal issues and whatever, they'll fix that. Does the Cybertruck matter to Tesla stock at all?
Yeah, I'd agree with you in terms of, sort of the short-term thinking around the Cybertruck. I think we actually thought the Cybertruck would be bigger than it was. It turns out they had it was harder to manufacture than Tesla thought. So I think, given the price point, it'll stay at like not necessarily a niche car, but certainly lower volumes than we were expecting. But I think what really matters to Tesla, again, it's robotaxis, it's the long-term picture for autonomy. So I'm really excited to hear about what Elon has to say in the earnings call. He's been teasing us all with his Twitter responses about what he thinks that their full self-driving software might be capable of, in the next months to say year or so, and what markets they might enter. And we also have the RoboTaxi event unveil in August this year, of course. So that's, Tesla's dedicating manufacturing resources to this platform. I think that shows their confidence.
Just like anything, practice makes perfect. The more that they produce them, the better they will be at cost savings and eliminating processes. The only way to grow your efficiency at building these types of vehicles is to build them. And I'd just like to echo Tasha Keeney's exuberance when it comes to the RoboTaxi. We've got an unveil August 8th, where I didn't see Tesla having their first RoboTaxi fair until the end of this year. This leads me to believe that they are working on that infrastructure for the RoboTaxi, with anticipation of most, if not all of that framework to be completed by August 8th. It just boggles my mind to think that people are exiting their positions right now. I will continue to buy Tesla shares now in the 140s, on the way down to the 120s, to the 100s, to the 50s if I have to, and not regret buying a single share on the way down. On the flip side, if Tesla were to soar up to 200, 250, 350, I will continue to buy shares at those levels as well, because I've done the homework and I know what they're going to be worth in a decade's time. In conclusion, Tesla's going to release their financials at the closing bell today. Earnings call shortly after, unless there's some magical deferred revenue that pops up on Tesla's financials. You can expect a dismal reaction to their financials and probably the call. Much like a SpaceX flight, it's probably not going to be boring. Excitement guaranteed. That's all I got for you today. Be easy. Peace.